Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is AshQuest, and this is Magic the Gathering, Arena of the Planeswalkers, Battle for Zendikar board game expansion pack, where the boxes get smaller but the names get longer, and also very noticeably much lighter. But that is because this is not an expansion that also masquerades as a core set. There are no standalone delusions of grandeur here. Battle for Zendikar, or BFZ, is an expansion that introduces two Planeswalkers and a new mode of play for the MTG Skirmisher, and is the final purchase that I will be making for this franchise of products, which has been discontinued for quite some time now, but one I felt necessary to acquire in order to make the experience feel more full. I was on the precipice of getting rid of MTG Planeswalkers because of how limited, how cut and dry, how uninspired it seemed on its own. But when combined with Shadows over Innistrad, the standalone expansion that is more than capable of outclassing the base game in many ways, the potential really does start to sink in. It all makes sense. I'm not somebody who wants to promote the idea of buying multiple of the same core set in order to make a game playable. The game should be playable when you buy the core set. And I still have that complaint here, but those complaints will fall on deaf ears because everybody else has the same complaint, and this isn't a game actively being developed anymore. However, with this, the final piece of the puzzle, I can potentially have the experience that the designers of the game intended all along. It's been long enough, let's get to unboxing this thing. And it's the first and only out of all the products that requires you to lift a flap and pull out the contents rather than lift a lid. Immediate fail. I am so disappointed. It's fine, it probably saved on costs, to be honest, and it's a very, very economically priced game. I was able to get this one sealed, so I have broke the tape on the box, but I have yet to take the cards out of their plastic trappings. For millennia, Zendikar held a secret. The plane was a prison for monstrous beings known as the Eldrazi. Left alone, Eldrazi devour the mana and life energy of any plane they encounter before moving on to the next. So they eat land cards. To halt their path of destruction, three powerful planeswalkers lured the Eldrazi to mana-rich Zendikar thousands of years ago. They used their combined magic to seal the astral abominations away within the plane itself, where they lay dormant ever since, until now. The Eldrazi are free, and they roam Zendikar, feasting on its mana and reducing everything to dust. As Zendikar and its people stand on the brink of destruction, will planeswalkers once again rise up against the world-ending monsters? Well, no. Just get everybody out of it. Why didn't you evacuate Zendikar? Just send all of its inhabitants to other realms. Also, why aren't those three planeswalkers in jail for war crimes? I'm sure that counts, right? This game notably comes with a giant Eldrazi miniature. We're really playing with the word miniature here. I'm quite impressed with it. Just take off these contraceptives? I'm just kidding. This whole game is a contraceptive. If you come into this room, the entire room. All right, as before, we will be taking a look at all of the units that come with this game at the same time that we look at their cards. We will also look at the enchantments and sorceries that comprise the spell deck. We are in faction territory here. Magic the Gathering famously has its 5 colors as well as colorless and combinations of colors. I'm actually quite happy to see finally some goblin representation here. I didn't build a red goblin deck for nothing. These are the strongest candy trays I've ever encountered. For as cheap as the series of game is, like it's the cheapest ever, it would be a real challenge to find a lower priced set of games with miniatures, cards, and boards and tokens. They have some of the strongest candy trays I've ever encountered. First up, we have Path Wardens. They are squad creatures, elf warriors, and they have Escort. Each small or medium creature you control adjacent to a Path Warden can be attacked only by adjacent figures. So these guys are protecting their small and medium creatures from being attacked from ranged attacks. The sculpts we're back to small territory with these guys. I don't know if these elves are just supposed to be small in the world of Magic. It's a little too small for my liking. 28mm non-heroic with just oversized bases so that you can see them clearly and move them on the hex grid board. Not complaining, these are just observations, things that you might want to know before making any purchases. As strong as these candy trays are, it's no wonder that some of the bases appeared warped in my last unboxing. Oh my god. Some of them you kind of have to twist and then they just pop out so easily. I appreciate that the miniatures are the same color as their intended magic type. which is just referred to as color. These are the Malakir Blood Chasers. I like these miniatures a lot more than the last ones we looked at. They have lifelink and scent of blood. While attacking, a Malakir Blood Chaser gets +1 hit if the defending figure has a damage marker on it. There are 3 of these, finely detailed. They are very easy to see, but being black, the camera has just, I don't know what it is. It's picking up everything. Like, you're seeing pretty much everything I'm seeing. I guess it's that the figure is more matte than it shows on camera. It kind of looks like it's coated in oil on the camera, but that's not the case in real life. In real life, these are really neat looking miniatures. I like these sculpts quite a bit. I think the appropriate amount of respect is paid to the vampires. These are brand new. Of course they're hard to take out. They've never been taken out before. This is Kiora, the Rising Tide, a planeswalker with Seaborn. She can move through water spaces without stopping, and she gets +2 defense while in water, carry by waves, and by dint of Thassa. Her barnacle-infused hair is kind of freaky, but otherwise, she's got a good silhouette, good shape. Her sculpt is really cool. I like that they have incorporated this tide behind her, helping her rise up out of the water. I also like that her base is clear. I can bear it no longer. My goblin brethren, be released. They are goblin javelineers. Volatile. Hadron Javelin. Choose a goblin javelineer you control and to target creature up to 6 clear sight spaces away from it. Roll the 20-sided die. You'll either deal a damage to the chosen goblin javelineer, deal 1 to the chosen target creature, or deal 2 to the chosen target creature. You can do this once per turn. Here they are, the little guys. I like these guys' proportions. They are bordering a little bit more on heroic, but they still have the tiny hands, the very, very tiny feet, but they are unmistakably goblins. Magic the Gathering has its own goblin style, which I appreciate. I appreciate every fantasy IP creating art direction, making sure that their goblins are a bit more distinct. So if you stand in a crowd of goblins, you should be able to pick out your own. Am I making sense? No? Good. If you like that, be sure to like and subscribe. Okay, it's time to get a little weird. Now we've got some bugs. These are Eldrazi Scions, or Scions if you played Tomb Raider. They have Devour for speed and Devour for strength. They are mainly to be placed on the board near your Eldrazi hero creature, so it can devour them and get speed or strength in turn. They actually have bases, and we have to assemble them. I guess that was a good design decision. I guess there's a big indent in the candy tray that you can use to store the bases. You can participate in a very fun game of how does this get positioned. So there's no risk of putting these guys in the wrong bases because your bases are either going to be circular, triangular, or square. One of the holes anyway will be. And this particular creature that goes in it will have a corresponding shaped peg. The fit is quite dubious at best, however. I would probably recommend some glue if you didn't care about storing the creature right back in its tray. Also entirely possible to flip this tray upside down and use all of the chaotic, disorganized storage that it would provide. You don't have to worry about fitting them back into their candy tray bits. Also, these guys' limbs are definitely warped out a little bit, and they don't just like natively fit. You've got to go find the limb and push it into place. These are not complaints. Again, they are just observations. I don't really care that I have to do this. Definitely would be more convenient if they were in their bases, molded. That way I don't have to worry about taking them apart, putting them back together every single time I want to play a game of Magic and offer these guys up as options for one of my players. I mean, it's barely worth putting them in here just to show them off for the video, knowing that I'm going to have to just disassemble them again. I've played with the idea of superboxing, which is a concept putting all the expansion contents in with the base game system box if you have the room and if everything is organized well enough for it to be intuitive when you go to pull the contents back out. Let's comment on the sculpts. They are very cool. I can see all the details. I think that this is a really cool design because it's effective. It's simplistic. It has a tentacle. It has this chitin shell. It's got tentacles coming out the front. Very different style than the tentacle out the back. It's got creepy insect legs. I like them a lot. Really cool choices made with these guys, and they're purple, which just feels like it makes sense. We pull out the Kor Aeronaut Captain, only to discover that the wings were not attached, so we have to attach those real quick. You can always glue them in because this was assembled in its little cavity. Again, details are great for this one. This is a sculpt that I find myself very much enjoying. I really, really like the wings back here. If you had multiple copies of this game, you could absolutely take these wings, maybe cut off that peg and apply these to whatever miniature you wanted. Perhaps incorporate some magnets so you can attach and remove it at will. And you could give whatever miniature is wearing the wings as a sort of optional item the ability to fly or float or glide. But just visually, this is a really impactful sculpt. They did a really, really good job on this glider. I like it a lot. Without the glider, this miniature is still really neat. Lots of weaponry, dynamic pose, big hole in the back for a glider. Kor Aeronaut Captain has flying, obviously, ride the currents, obviously, and air raid, obviously. Before we get into the last sculpts, we're going to take a look at the cards really quick. We've got Anticipate, Scatter to the Winds, and Royal Mage's Trick. That's for the blue. For the black, we've got Demonic Appetite, Painful Truths, and Virulent Swipe. Hey, it's Death Touch. For my brother goblins, we have Goblin War Paint, Sure Strike, and Stubborn Resilience, and that obviously is for the red. For the lame elves, we've got Rapid Withdrawal, Earthen Arms, and Elvish Blade Finesse, representing the green, poorly I might add. For the white, we have Sunlance. That is a badass looking picture. That is so cool. Destroy target squad creature that was attacked this turn. Love that. Stasis Snare, and Seize the Initiative. I really like these cards for the white. The only things left are the last three sculpts, their cards, and the literature. And I have to say, the literature this time it's one page. It's one sheet, made into 4 pages, the first of which is the cover. With the lore, we have a one-time assembly instruction block. We have Introduction to the Planeswalkers, Ob Nixilis, and Kiora. We have general rules for using the expansion pack. 600 cost army battles, instead of a 500 cost, because you can. Multicolored Planeswalkers. You can build an army and a spell deck using cards that match any of that Planeswalker's mana symbols. Multicolored Planeswalkers cards are identified by their gold borders. The Planeswalker is considered to be a Planeswalker of all of its colors at once. It's actually referring to the Planeswalker in this box, Kiora. Kiora is actually a multicolored Planeswalker. Unfortunately, this would still feel very limited without Shadows over Innistrad because we are just introducing one Planeswalker that's multicolored, and it's just green and blue. Like, we don't have every possible combination of multicolored. And that's just the 2 colors. That's to say nothing of the 3 and then the 4 and the 5, because that's important. Colorless army cards. When building an army, you must include one and only one Planeswalker. After you select your Planeswalker, select which army cards you want to include in your army. Each army card in your army must be of a mana symbol matching your selected Planeswalker or be a colorless card, identified by purple borders or an artifact army card. The Eldrazi Ruiner Army and Eldrazi Scions Army card are colorless army cards. So purple is colorless in this context. Okay, I like that. We have the battlefield scenario. Take down the Eldrazi Ruiner. This is for 1 versus 2 players or 1 versus 3 players. A massive Eldrazi looms on the horizon, giving you the map layout for your standard Arena of the Planeswalkers game. So yeah, looks like this is very, very explicitly only using that. And then we have the Eldrazi Ruiner Life Tracker, the Turn Marker Tracker, and just way, way, way too many keywords. Lash of Tentacles, Otherworldly, Relentless. Too many abilities right here. That's too many abilities. I know it's a boss. And how silly of a design is it to have one player have the cards and the miniatures and be playing the game as intended, and have the other player just kind of looking at this the whole time, trying to decide which thing to use. You need some representation here in the elements, not just in the manual. If indeed a manual you can call that. I really had to push this guy out. This is Ob Nixilis, the Demon of Spite. He has flying at any price. Pretty big sculpt. I like it. Wingspan is really threatening. The horns are a nice touch. Well, maybe they're horns. They're supposed to be horns, but they look like little tentacles coming out of his brain. He's got a demonic tail. He's got muscularity. And he's got a clear base. This is the Merfolk Royal Mage. This is a hero creature, Merfolk Wizard. It has Seaborn and part waters. How biblical. The details are kind of murky. Having the picture as reference is helpful, but unnecessary. Should not be necessary anyway. I like the details around the base, though. For the most part, all of the bases are very much unadorned. They are very much bog standard. There's nothing special about them. So these little details here are pretty cool whenever you come across them. I like them being implemented in moderation. To take this Planeswalker, place her here, so she's coming up out of the water. We'll take this Planeswalker, place him here. We'll have some Eldrazi skittering around, not that that's where they go. And then this is the arm of the Eldrazi Ruiner. This is how big just the arm is. You could literally have a scenario where you put the arm down and it has its own abilities and stuff. And your goal is to get these guys to defeat it within a certain number of turns. And then it will retreat and come back as the entire Ruiner. So like that's the bad ending. What would the good ending would be destroying it. But then like there'd be no point. If you don't destroy it in time, these guys consume the entirety of the realm. But the arm bone is attached to the shoulder bone of the Eldrazi Ruiner. Massive, very glossy looking creature. Very hollowed out, actually. Which I think was a very obvious and very good choice because now you can use him as a finger puppet. Hello, kids. Buy Magic the Gathering today, or I'll eat your parents. Yeah, they call me a homewrecker. Outside of the battlefield scenario, the Eldrazi has 8 life instead of the ridiculous 20 life in the 3-player game, 36 life in the 4-player game. Which, no, that's not ridiculous. That does make sense. All of the other stats are the same. And it only has Lash of Tentacles, Otherworldly, and Shepherd of Scions. It's huge. And it's coming to a board near you. It takes up only 2 tiles, though. That's very important to note. It has an official 2-tile amount of space that it takes up. It looks really cool on the board. It has a very threatening and commanding presence. It's very easy to imagine the Eldrazi Scions using their abilities, because this guy is so big it looks like he could just scoop up a tasty Eldrazi Scion and just munch him away right in the middle of the battle. And now he's got super slug speed. Bleh. That is the extent of this unboxing. I hope you enjoyed this little series of Magic the Gathering unboxings. I do want to actually play this, set it all up, and teach my gaming table how to play so that we can get a couple of games in. I would like to experience this as it was intended. I have this running theory that if I don't like it, that means I'm not going to like Heroescape, and if I do like it, that means I'm going to like Heroescape, but I have it fit. Is that like what all of them are going to do for me? That would be so cool. That's not what's going to happen though, unfortunately. Dang. Does he fit? He does fit. I mean, no, that's got to be intentional, right? I really strongly feel that's intentional. They go right back. There is room for the bases. That's so bizarre. Why didn't you sculpt them with the bases on? No, but this actually works. This completely illegitimizes one of my former complaints. They just go right back in with their bases. Okay, that's great. Thank you, Magic. Oh god, he broke. Oh god, he's coming out of his base. We may have to glue some of these guys into their bases. But now I know I can do that. Like, I don't have a problem with that. Boy, that's so neat. Yeah, they all just go in. They fit. There's not even any bleed out or nothing. They were designed to go back in. And now we have this free cavity that we can use for whatever. Complaints? Well, I didn't really go into this with any expectations. I'm glad not to see any more like life tokens or whatever, but that would have been something that I'd only expect to see if this was also a standalone game. It would have been really cool if this was a standalone game and it had come with a few more pieces of terrain, with a few more pieces of different kinds of tile, and a few more actual 3D pieces of tile. I have seen commentary, and this is why I do the videos, guys, the commentary from experienced players who like this sort of thing and enjoy playing it and have developed enough of an understanding of how to play it that they can comment very intelligently on advanced play. Love that stuff. Please, please always do that, because you have no idea how cool it is to read that stuff. But they say that it's actually advantageous to the game design that there isn't a lot of 3D terrain. Now, I'm the newcomer here, I'm the guest, so me disagreeing with that doesn't mean anything. Rather, I would say, if that is the case, then I wish that they had designed it such that it wasn't the case. Okay, so my first complaint, and my only complaint really, is that when I put everything back in, I gotta put the cards and stuff at the bottom of this tray, and they're gonna be all messed up when they come back out. There's no getting around that. But there's no card cavities? Really? That's kind of a running theme for MTG. There wasn't any cavities for the cards or a lot of the stuff in the first 2 games I unboxed either. But that's Battle for Zendikar. You'll have to let me know what your experiences were when you played this game, if you have, or if you think you might now. I've made multiple references to this game, all of the Magic the Gathering Arena of the Planeswalkers games being cheap, and I mean that. They are low priced. You can, if opportunity affords it, even get them for single digits cost. That's how much they were brand new, just not expensive. Expensive is probably a subjective term, I should be careful with that, but if you're in this hobby, then you have a frame of reference for what expensive is. You can buy an entire board game for less than a deck of Magic cards in many circumstances. But now I have the complete and total lineup, and I don't feel that it is nearly as lacking as I once did. I do still think that somebody needs to be jailed for a good 2, maybe 3 weeks over this differing box size convention. This is insane. It's okay, they probably got fired. In fact, everybody whose names were attached to any of these projects probably been fired from Wizards of the Coast by now for completely different reasons. Downsizing, all that. I need to get my hands on some Heroescape tiles. Send me some? Send me some. Send me some tiles and I'll do a video based on what you'd like to see. And that, Brave Heroes, is it for now. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, I bid you a fantastic rest of your day, and onward.